So we are here at the New York City Comic Con speaking with legendary DC writer Marv Wolfman, whose involvement in the DCU online MMO has just recently been announced.
Right.
Now, even though it's just been recently announced, how long have you actually been part of the project?
I've known about the project for a year. Obviously, they've been working on it, developing it, but it had to get to a certain point where the writers needed to come in. What you wanted to do is create the environments, you wanted to create the characters, you wanted to build everything. That takes the longest. The next step is they brought in Jeff Johns to do an overview. Once you have the overview that he did, and it's a brilliant story, you build more specific backgrounds, sets, you know where your needs are. Once all that's done, and that takes a lot of time as well, then you need to start taking what Jeff did and turning them into missions, and now that's why I'm involved. But they asked me about a year ago.
They asked you about a year ago. Okay. So like you said, Jeff had come in and pretty much laid down the overall groundwork for the entire thing, and now you're coming in to sort of flesh out each individual part, correct?
That's essentially what I'm doing, right.
Okay. So, with the game this grand in scope and it, the 70 years, plus worth of history here, after seeing what Jeff's done, I mean, I know you can't give away specifics, but there are clearly parts where you're probably like, oh, I can't wait to dive into putting my spin on that, right?
I love the DCU. I've been a fan of comics since I was about 6 when I saw Superman on TV, the first time, not in a rerun. I'm old, yeah. And I've been a fan of the DCU from that moment on. When there was only Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, those were the only 3 superheroes out. Having had a chance to help revitalize it in the 80s with Crisis on Infinite Earths, I helped create the universe that is out now to some degree. It's been changed over the years. It evolves. It constantly evolves. So, yeah, it's really thrilling to be able to take some of the stuff that I worked on, some of the stuff Jeff, some of the stuff all the hundreds of writers have done, and then see how you turn that into a game. Because ultimately, a game has to be interesting on its own, and it's very different from a comic book. The comic sets up great scenarios. Now in the game, we have to make it very game-specific. And if it doesn't work, you don't use that part of it. Because you want an exciting, fun game. You don't want to just walk around and, oh, there's a monster, let's kill it. Or, here's your mission, go find the scroll of so-and-so from this wizard who's in that city. This is bigger in a different sense. I mean, I love those type of games too because I do play MMOs. But I love the fact in this one you're going to know where your position is from day one. You know what's at stake to some degree. You know where your part of it is. You're not just wandering for 30 levels until you find out, oh, that's what the story is about. You will have a good inkling of what the story is about pretty quickly, but it keeps growing and changing and developing. But that's fine. That's a great story.
So now another part that comes into the actual gaming aspect of it is there are branching options, whereas generally in like a comic story you kind of have your one single take on it. So what's it like having to then go in and say, all right, from the hero's perspective, the story has to end this way, and from the villain's perspective, the story has to end this way?
But it doesn't have to end that way. It may end in a completely different fashion, because in MMOs, you may decide not to even go after that mission. So you're left up to a completely different type of storytelling, which makes it fascinating as a writer, because you're not writing by rote. You have to think about everything. You have to think about the possibilities, the alternatives, and see if you could lead a player to a certain degree. But they may not elect to go that way. So you're writing very differently, but you're still telling the story. And in the games I've written in the past, that's the challenge that makes it exciting to write. And because I do play, I tend to not like a lot of games that just have you wander for no purpose. And as a player who does not have a lot of time, and I guard what little time I have to play a game very jealously, I want to know where I am. I want to know what's going on. I want to know who's doing what, and I want to know why I'm playing. And we're actually answering those questions, and they were doing that long before I was involved with it. So that makes it interesting to me.
Okay, so as you said, you pretty much helped shape the way the DC universe is now, and then Jeff himself has actually cited you as a major influence on what he does. How interesting is it that now he's shaped the world for you to come back in and write?
It's in my mind, and I've said this in print 100 times, so it's not just now. I believe that the universes in comics should change every 20 or so years. Superman was created in 1938. Most superheroes were gone by the mid-50s. In the mid-50s, about 20 years later, they brought back Flash, Green Lantern, and everything, created the new DC universe. Not much after that, about 20 to 30 years later, we started Crisis on Infinite Earths to kickstart it again. 20 years after Crisis on Infinite Earths, Jeff did it again. I believe that you do that, and if you maintain the same storyline too long, or the same continuity too long, I think it gets really boring and old, and I don't see why the next generation would be interested in something that was created in 1902. I think every generation of comic fans should have the characters reworked out for them, so that the characters have meaning. So to do something over Jeff is a great thing, because that's what I love. I wanted that to happen. I did it. Julie Schwartz did it 25 years before me, and I think that should be done all the time to keep it fresh and alive and exciting and surprising.
All right, well, nothing more surprising than seeing what you guys got in store for us on the DC Universe, and we're really looking forward to it. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.